whoever wants to build local directory sites going forwards, this is going to be a full package solution. So right now I'm using the sheet. So it's AI, got AI in the sheet, and I'm getting it to write a human sounding description for the business. And I've always add my words to avoid. And then in business data, it's just taking an array. So all of the information that I've scraped, and it's coming up with a unique as it's going to be, because I usually do it with the reviews. So I'm probably going to add the reviews, so add another formula to grab the reviews from the link. Yeah, so we got all of the reviews in the links here, and then add a formula to grab these reviews and then write the description, an objective description based on the reviews. I find that works so well because it's unique information about the company kind of concatenated. And then of course it's based on the prompt that you give it. I'm focusing right now on doing this from within the plugin. So the plugin's pretty much done, it's just some design elements, but we will be able to, or right now we can import, and I've actually imported all of these businesses from SQL. So I had this site in Supabase, but I've taken all the information out of Supabase so I can have the business images, because I scraped those using a Python script. And but yeah, so you'll be able to scrape news with the RSS feed, or however we can make it work, API, that's going to work. So scrape local news, have the business categories, again, that's all going to be imported. And then we'll just get it to take one of the businesses, so we don't have to worry about setting images for every category. So it will just take the image from one of the businesses in the category and then set that as a kind of blurred background. Of course, all of these things will be changeable, so I'm trying to make sure it's completely customizable, every aspect of it, and then we'll just have multiple templates, and I'll just keep adding templates. And the main thing is that it doesn't look like a typical WordPress site, or the animations and whatnot, the things that we like in React, we'll have that on here. I'm trying to keep this lean and not add too many unnecessary features, but I think this is something that is enriching for directory sites, because, well, at least local directory sites, because there will be the locals that want to sign up for the newsletter, especially if you've got like news being shared on the site. So without having to connect to MailChimp, especially if you're spinning up loads of these directory type sites, you don't want to necessarily have to set up MailChimp for everything, but you might want to start collecting email addresses from the very beginning. So you can have it, there's a widget, and then you can just collect the email addresses and whatnot in the back end and then export that to CSV. So it just makes it a lot easier. Again, optional, you can add local events, display that in the widget in the sidebar. Not necessary, you can just ignore this and not put the widget in. But then the news, as I mentioned, will be able to add RSS feeds and just scrape local news and then add that, which will show up a bit different on the front end. It actually looks more news-ish, but this UI is going to change. There's lots of things are going to change, but this is the newsletter feature that I mentioned. This was the initial CSV import that I had. You could download the sample CSV and add these fields. So right now is a case of importing your CSV. So you could download the sample CSV and then add these fields, and then that's going to just import it all into the database. Advanced, slightly different if you want to update and enrich your directories. So for me, I imported my SQL data from my Supabase site, but it didn't have my reviews. So now that I've updated the sheet, it has the same business names, but I've got the reviews now that I want to add, so I can just upload that. But in future, what I'm trying to do is allow us to just put the Outscraper API key into the backend, or Firecrawl, any of those scraping tools, and then just scrape the business data based on the search terms that we want. And we've got the at a glance, which shows how many businesses we've got, how many news articles, and then again we're going to have all kinds of customization features. So the animation effects for the cards, the typography, color scheme, sidebar features, all of those things we'll be able to edit and change. Maybe make it make it work with Elementor. Again, trying to keep it lean and do as many of the basic things we need within the plugin. But early adopters, let me know your thoughts. You guys have already purchased and you're waiting for me to send this over to you. So let me know your thoughts for this initial MVP at least, because it's ready to go and I don't want to spend too much time on design elements if they're not necessary. So that will be helpful. I'm happy with how it is at the moment for my basic local directory. And I'm really keen on these micro local business directories because they offer a chance to upsell to businesses, small businesses. They want eyeballs, they want recognition. So having this feature where you can allow them to sign up, and again, we've got the WordPress backend, so we're not having to worry about setting up the database and connecting to Stripe. It's very low friction, and all payments are handled by WooCommerce. We've got Stripe, we've got PayPal. I'm on localhost, so I can't connect fully, but just as you would set up in a normal WordPress site, it's just going to be adding your Stripe, adding your PayPal, and connecting it that way, or any other payment system, so we don't have to worry about all of that. The next things I need to do are mainly back-end things, so integrating AI so we can, again, use the business information to just generate descriptions. They don't have to be dynamic descriptions, but I like the idea of combining the reviews and any business data we've got. We can also, again, don't want to go too deep on unnecessary features because these are just things that excite me, but we can also use Gemini in the back end to scan any business photos, so any uploaded photos that we've got, and use the vision capabilities to help inform the description. So that's exactly what I did on this site. When you go to one of the restaurants, they have these descriptions. So this is AI, this is an AI description, but it's also taken a look at the business photos and the reviews to come up with this description. And of course, I've given the prompt to write it in a natural, human sounding, objective kind of way, and then read the reviews to help inform that. And it's done a fantastic job. So that's the kind of thing I want to do with the plugin. So if you want to get in on this as an early adopter, there are a few spaces left. Once it's gone, it's gone. I'm not making the plugin or theme available on Envato or anything like that. Of course, a directory doesn't have to be fantastic looking. It just has to be functional. But because many businesses have a terrible online presence, you'll start to rank for their brand, but only if what you're offering on the page is better than what Google already has. And that's where these AI descriptions come into play, because they paint a picture from a perspective that doesn't already exist. And there is no WordPress directory plugin that does that. So that's what I'm working on right now, smart scraping from within smart descriptions. 5 people have already taken 5 of the early adopter spaces. I'm doing 15 more for the early adopters, and then the system will be available for $197 on Gumroad.